This episode was crazy, crazy. If you guys know me personally, you know that I love my TikTok gods. And in this episode, we have a TikTok god on the show. What I mean by that is we brought on an astrologer, but she's not just like your normal astrologer. She's an astrologer for us, like an astrologer for badass women running businesses. What's going on with my shirt? Alice, who is a career astrologer and the founder of Woo Woo Company. Woo Woo Company? I love it. She talks about how she uses astrology as identity work to gain clarity in your business, in your career, in your life. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. You're gonna love it. Mwah. Oh my gosh, Alice, welcome to the Chit Chat. I am so excited. I'm like sweating a little bit. I'm a little nervous. I don't know why. But I'm really honestly just like grateful to have you here because I know this is about to be a really intriguing, interesting, probably very entertaining show. And I'm so thankful that you're here. So without further ado, welcome to the Chit Chat.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just was thinking, have you had an astrologer on the podcast before?
Never. So I'm really excited and I don't even know, I'm going to stop talking. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us all the things that you do and all the things that you capture because I'm just obsessed. So just you go ahead and dive in. Tell us what what you do.
Okay. So I am an astrologer who specifically focuses on career and business. So I call myself a career astrologer. So I haven't always been an astrologer. I started my career in social media, in consumer marketing. So that's what I did for most of my 20s. And I really never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. I never thought I was going to get into this space of spirituality and holistic wellness. I thought if I was ever going to start a business, it was going to be a PR agency.
Yeah.
But life has its way of throwing a couple curveballs. Sometimes they're kickballs at you. And we all go through this thing called a Saturn return in our late 20s, early 30s, comes back around in our mid to late 50s, mid to late 80s again, if we're lucky. The last one. And it is a time of existentialism, of existential crisis. It is a time when you kind of quit your job, you start a business. For me, I was living abroad in Asia for most of my 20s. I've moved back to the US. I lived at home. I started an e-commerce business with my friends. And then I began my spiritual journey.
Wow. But how did you get into the spirituality? If you were, because this is all very interesting to me because your company is literally called Woo Woo Co. Is that right? Okay. And I find that interesting because just a little background on me. I used to say I was anti-woo-woo. I don't believe in that. I'm very science-brained. I studied pre-med. I'm very structured, very rigid. But then all of a sudden, maybe it's my Saturn return. I don't know. I'm going to have to learn more about that. But all of a sudden now I'm all in on the woo-woo. I'm all in on the spirituality. I can't get enough of it. So can you tell us what it was for you that got you into it?
Yeah, it was the Saturn return. I was having a literal life fucking crisis. And I would speak to colleagues who were, they seem so much older, and now I'm at that age, I'm okay, they weren't that much older. They didn't know what was going on in their own life either. But I was just I don't know if I want to do PR anymore. I don't know if I want to do social media. I don't know what, marketing in general, but what could I do next? And, I remember one colleague, he was just you're going to do something different and you're going to come back to this. That's and it was just something that was very normal. People would go off, have a sabbatical, maybe have a little crisis and then come back and return quote unquote normal. But really, that is not the case for really anyone anymore. And so I went on this journey of self-discovery, and astrology, mindfulness, meditation, were really, really helpful. I didn't really believe these things either. I was very skeptical. And, looking back, you have a lot of clarity, right? And as a child, I loved mythology. I loved horoscopes. I loved all of those things. And, as we get older, we get a little bit more serious and you forget about these things. But during my Saturn return, that thing that happens in your late 20s, early 30s, my mind and my world really opened up. And nobody had any of the answers. And astrology was one of the tools that I used to really just understand myself. I like to say that astrology is a tool for introspection that allows you to really understand, who am I? what are my values? What am I here for? How do I want to contribute to the world and build my
Yeah.
community?
Yeah, dude, so badass. I'm hanging on every word. So you specifically do this for business women, which I love because this show is all for the fempreneur, like the badass woman. How does this work? Like when you find someone that wants to work with you, what is the first step like that you take? And then what are some wins that you've seen because of this, the changes, the transformation, and all the juiciness?
It's honestly so incredible, and I've been doing this for a couple years now, reading specifically, and it never ceases to surprise me, the synchronicities, the weird things that come up. So usually they'll work with me by getting their expanded report. Everyone can get their free report from yoursaturn.com, which you just got. And then if they love it, they can get the expanded version, which is really just a book about you. It was just like, hey, this is who you are. These are some challenges, opportunities, talents, and gifts, and all of that. And then sometimes you'll book like one-on-one like readings with me. And then some people, they're like, oh, I loved the reading so much. How can we work together a little bit more? Not something that's like separate. It's almost kind of like I give them the astrological forecast each month. There's a little bit of coaching and like guidance, but really people come to me for the readings. And some of my most favorite stories, like let's say it's like after every conversation, it's like a homecoming. Sometimes people are afraid to see astrologers or psychics or intuitives. They're just like, I don't want to know about stuff, but it's not about that. It's about being held. It's about being seen. Like when I made yoursaturn.com, my intention was for those who are feeling lost or curious to be so incredibly seen so that you feel empowered and confident to do whatever it is you want to do. Like I had a reading yesterday and this happens like often. Like she just started crying. I was just like, you're a nurse, like you've been caregiving for your parents. I was like, you can ask for help. You have a big network that you don't even realize because you give so much to them. Ask them for help on like these next steps that you're going to take and like what you are searching for. Like that's something that is like just recently happened. I had another client last year who I think she's around like in her 50s. Very successful career in finance. She's like she's really high up. She's like a VP, but she's just like, I always want to leave and they always want to keep me. And they'll like, we'll do anything, work part-time, we'll pay you more. And it's so hard for her to leave. And after, like our conversation, we realized like how probably like 20, 25 minutes into it that, she's always had a dream to start a stationery business. But her mom always was like, this is like not a real thing. Like, this is dumb. No one's going to want to buy this. But this was a dream that she has held on to since childhood. She emailed me a couple weeks ago saying like, hey, Alice, I started my stationery business.
I love that. That is so cool.
Those are just
That's
like
like the best.
some of the stories. So many other like really fun and crazy stories.
Yeah, so you're gonna laugh at this, but
Mm-hmm.
my sister and I, we talk about this all the time. Like we call them the TikTok guides because there's so many astrologers on TikTok that will like tell you like about these things and decode what's happening with the moon and all the things. And I love it. Like I'm always going to my TikTok guides to listen to them. But I'm curious, like, are you guys like, how does this differ from seeing a psychic? Are
Mm-hmm.
you using your intuition or are you studying something? Because it's like when I listen to the TikTok guides, you can kind of feel intuitively the ones who are serious about it and the ones who are just kind of like playing around with it, which is fine. It doesn't bother me. The ones who are serious about it, they're always spot on and they're always very similar. So I'm like, what are you guys studying over there? Like, is it like something that you guys, where's the Bible to all of this? Like, what are you
Yes.
looking at?
So there is an existing framework of like, let's say the definitions of the planets, the signs, and the houses. And it's almost like, let's say you can compare an astrologer to a therapist. They all study very similar things, like the foundation is the same, and they add in different things as well as their own lived experiences and the way that they just like see and share, right? Like all these different concepts and what you're going through. And we all have a shared lexicon of like planets and houses and transits and like all like the astrological jargon, but each person has their own flavor. And some people are very focused on like like black and white. This is what I see in the chart. And others, they kind of also incorporate like a bit of like intuitive psychic like readings, like, and I know for myself, like I look at someone's chart, I can see a lot of other things come through that aren't like another astrologer wouldn't tell you right off the bat, because I'm doing
Really?
energy reading. Yes, I'm doing intuitive, like I'm like, oh, have you thought about this? Like it's really funny. Sometimes like I'll look at a chart and I'm like, I don't see this in your chart, so don't say this to another astrologer, but I feel like, do you want to start like a jewelry business? Or like
Whoa.
are you gonna start something like with your family? Or like there's just like different interesting things that like come up. Or sometimes a person's partner will come through, and that came in like a couple weeks ago when I was doing a reading for a tech sales executive. I felt like there was friction in their marriage. And I was like, well, your wife, she doesn't feel really confident. And I think there's something that you can do together. And there's something that you could do with your family. Do you have like a family business? And he was saying like, yes, like we have a bunch of like property that needs to get managed. Like, I don't want to do that at all. And I was like, I think your wife would really like to do this, but she doesn't have the traditional business acumen. But I think this would make her and both of you much happier.
Was that true? Like, did he say, yes, you're spot on?
He was like, this is something that I have been talking to my wife about that she could do. Because I don't want to do
Wow.
it, but maybe this is something that she can do. And I was like, yes, you gotta like do a little bit of hand holding, because it's something that's very new for her. And I know there's like some stickiness because it's a family thing, like lots of emotions, but I think she really wants to do it, and it'll really add to your, family like wealth and financial stability.
Yeah, that's so cool. Okay, so when we're looking at, I just want to preface this because it's interesting. I feel like everyone should know this, so I want to share this. When you go to someone like Alice, or you're looking to pull your what we're calling a chart, this chart is giving you information, and what you need in order to get this chart or to generate the results is you need to know, obviously the day you were born. Hopefully everybody knows that, the year you were born, the city that you were born in, and then the time that you were born.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hand that to someone like Alice, and she generates a what we're calling a chart. And so I just pulled up mine. She just emailed it to me. I just pulled it up briefly. But one thing that I know from doing this in the past is there's like, I think the big six and maybe the big three, if you could help me
Mm,
there. But what
yes.
the can you like educate us on the difference? How do we look at like our zodiac sign versus our rising sign, et cetera, et cetera? Like, can you
Yes.
describe what those mean?
Yes. So when we're looking at the sun sign, that is primarily like based on your birthday. You're like, oh, I'm a Leo, or I'm a Virgo or a Libra. That's the sign that everybody knows. But if we're only looking at the sun sign, sometimes people like it feels empty. They're like, oh, I don't relate to being like an Aquarius. And I'm
Yes.
like, well, yes, because like you're not just like one dimensional. There are many different parts of you, and all 12 signs are represented in your chart. So the sun sign is about your personality, identity. From a career perspective or business perspective, it's like what you really need to thrive. The moon sign is your inner world. It's how you process your emotions or you don't process your emotions. It's what you need for your inner child to be safe and seen and to prevent burnout. Very important. Your
Wow.
rising sign is how you are perceived. This is why the timing is very important, because the rising sign can like, really change throughout like the day. And your rising sign is how you perceive reality. This is the lens of reality. And also when people first meet you, this is like how they see you. So we'll use you as an example, Chan, if it's okay.
Yep, do
So
it.
you have a Libra sun. That means you are very social. You're actually extremely social, very likable, and like you actually are very social when it comes to like work. Like
Hmm.
from a professional sense, you have like a really great like professional network.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yes,
I
you
would say
do.
so.
You do. And I would say over the last 2 years, because of a specific transit, a weather forecast related to astrology, you have really shifted and changed and understood like the types of people that you really like to work with. because you can
Holy shit.
give a
Yes.
lot to people and they can like take advantage of you. Like, oh, Chan will just do this. Or like, let's say you're working like, because you have your own business right now. And like, let's say you're partnering up with someone. They're like, oh, well, Chan is really good at this. She'll do it. So you do 80% and the other person does 20%. You're just like, yes, we had a favorable outcome, but I feel like I'm left holding the bag and I would like a little bit more, even if it's a 60-40 or a thank you.
Yeah. That's good shit. That's definitely spot on.
So you've learned that, and I'm happy to report that that is over. Those lessons are over.
Mm.
You've finished those last few lessons in like mid-April.
Yeah, I would say
letting
so.
letting go of like people that no longer serve you, shifting the way that you approach relationships, whether they're personal or professional. So that's something I wanted to share. Your Gemini moon in the seventh house, that means you really enjoy talking through things. So of course you have a podcast, but when you're not feeling like yourself, you like to talk to a friend, like a close friend or a significant other. You like to be very social. You just like kind of like to have like a busy calendar. It makes you feel very full, right? And also like community building. Like I see you as someone who's like organizing gatherings, whether it's like, you know, for your line of work or like with your friends. You throw a great party.
Yeah. When it's time when it comes time for me to throw a party, I would say I'm very good at it. I don't do it very often, but I would
Yeah.
say like the community aspect in my business is it is one of the it's what I lead with. It's like so
Hmm.
important to me.
And I think one of the special qualities that you have is that when people come to a gathering, like that you host, they don't feel awkward. Like you're just like trying to make things happen in the background, not only energetically, making sure people feel like very welcome, but you're like, hey, you should talk to this person or you should talk to that person. Like it leaves people feeling like, you know, I'm a little bit of an ambivert or introvert, but I really enjoyed like hanging out with those people.
So cool. I love that.
And
That
then
feels
your
good.
Sagittarius rising is one that is very freedom oriented, really likes
Mhm.
to like explore. And when people first meet you, like they see that you're someone who is very curious. Almost like there's like, it makes sense like why you were pre-med. You have a very academic quality to you. It's like very smart, but it depends on how people meet you. If they meet you through like a work setting, they're like, oh, she could be like a little bit serious, like really talking about some serious things. Or like you're like weighing like, you know, like, is this right? Is this wrong? The morality and ethics of things, and like really thinking about like, you know, like the philosophy of like life and like work. Like you're a deep, deep thinker. You can't have superficial conversations. That's very important to you to like have depth, right? And but then you have a very playful side of who you are, who's like really fun, life of the party, and just like you have really good comedic timing as well,
Wow. This is fun.
right? It's not scary at all. This is basically like a reading. I always like talk to
Yeah.
people about like these things so they feel comfortable, like, yeah, this is me, or I've been exploring more of this part of myself. So then we move on. So that's the big three: sun, moon, and rising. Before I move on to like the big like six, I want to mention something that not a lot of astrologers talk about, that I don't even think that you've seen probably on like TikTok, is that there's something called a south node. If you don't feel like you resonate with your sun, your moon, and or rising, look to your south node, because your south node gives you a lot of insights to kind of the core part of who you are, the past lives that you have lived, that you just feel very comfortable with the characteristics of this sign. And for you, your south node is in Cancer. At the core of who you are deeply feeling. You can
Yes.
feel what everyone else is feeling. You're just like, shh.
So much, yes.
You call people, you're just like, hey, just calling to say like hello, and someone's like crying, like, how did you know I had the worst day? Or like I broke up with my boyfriend, or like my boss reamed me out at like work. Like you feel like you just have like your energetic tentacles like all over the place, but it can be very draining. So even though you're very social, you sometimes like there'll be weeks people see you, and then weeks like people don't see you. You're just
Yes.
prone. You're just lying down, like resting. So at the core of who you are, you're very intuitive, you have a lot of big feelings, and you deeply, deeply care about others. You have a deeply nurturing spirit.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. So now we talk about like the big six, and we're talking about Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So Mercury is about communication. Venus is about like the people that you connect with, your values, like how you view money, your special talents, and your gifts. And then Mars is how you take action. So with the Mercury in Libra for yourself, you're very cerebral, always thinking, always connecting people. A Venus in Leo, like you love attracting Leos, people who are very dynamic and confident, kind of like to be center stage. I'm actually a Leo.
I'm married a Leo.
Ah, perfect. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
And you are someone who's very magnetic as well. People love like I don't know what you did before you like, started your business, but very possible it was sales and marketing for like
Oh
maybe
yeah. Medical
finance.
devices.
Yeah, medical devices, like data, like it's just like that. And that cancer part of you is very healthcare oriented, so it
That's
makes
crazy.
a lot of sense, right? But you also have the possibility, like if you continued that career, to work in like I guess like technically, yeah, you were working in like medical tech, like med tech.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like as well as just like really like looking at like data and analytics and sales, like marketing, like those are things that like you're just very naturally good at, that come easily to you. And then we have Mars in Libra, another Libra placement. So you are very collaborative in the way that you work and the way that you take action. You like to kind of bring people together, like let's do something together, and bringing in everyone's like opinions.
Yes. That is wild. That is
That
so cool.
that's the big three, and that's the big six.
That is like the coolest thing ever. Like, and that just came so naturally to you, which I'm not surprised at all because you've been doing this for a while and you're very good at this, clearly. But holy crap, like that was really fun. If you're listening to this and you want what I just had, you need to go sign up with Alice somewhere on her website or her Instagram. But I'm curious, I do have one question.
Of course.
So, based off of everything you just told me, which
Mm-hmm.
is such a good description of who I am, and it makes
Mm-hmm.
me feel like you captured almost all the parts of me. Like, I don't, you're right. Like, when I do just look at my sun sign, sometimes I'm like, yeah, kind of, but not totally. So, I do feel
Mm-hmm.
like you captured all of that for who I am if you were to describe me or define me, quote unquote. Are you able to like look at this and see or feel like what does the future hold?
Oh yeah. Of course. Of course, of
So
course.
when it comes to that, like how do you take this data, if you will, and how do you gather that?
Well, there are certain times of the year that are going to be really good for different things. Each new moon is a time to plant new seeds. A full moon is to celebrate and release things that no longer serve you. And let's say from a manifestation perspective, a new moon to a full moon in the same sign is one cycle. So we just had like a new moon in Taurus, and then with the full moon in Taurus in November, it'll complete one cycle related to like money, self-worth, how you really connect to your body, the ways that you are joyful and understand pleasure, what it means for you, like kind of like really like, being and feeling in your body. That's like an example. And specifically for someone's like chart, it could really be one around activating communication. It could be one that's specifically like amplified, like money, but it's like the timing of things too. And let's say like you and I met 2 years ago. I would tell you, Chan, that like a lot of changes are coming up in your relationships, and to know that the ones that like aren't good for you anymore are going to leave, but don't hold on to them, whether they're leaving completely or you're just changing the way that you show up in that relationship. That's what I would have told you. And then you probably would have felt a lot better.
Yeah.
Like that's specifically for you, right? What I see for you, like this year is really just like integrating all of those lessons. You're probably going to feel like an extra pull to like health and wellness and nutrition, probably like changing the way that you do things as well. I think this will be a big year for you to work on your OCD,
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
letting go of some of those things of like
Yes.
being very particular. It's like a big year for it.
Mm-hmm.
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 Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that can be said, and also just like if someone is very new in their career journey or in their entrepreneurial journey. I can give them insights of the products and services that would be really good for them, as well as like what are some of the opportunities and challenges that you're going to be facing in this lifetime.
Wow. That is so cool, Alice. Like what a cool job that you have to do, and what a gift. That is truly amazing. I am curious. What is like when you sit down to maybe look at yourself, or if you've ever had a reading, which I'm sure you have, what's the craziest thing that you've heard about yourself that it's been like spot on, or it's scared you maybe, or it just shocked you?
I think that it was really in the beginning when I discovered my North Node is in Pisces. So the North Node is about life lessons, where we're going in this lifetime, where we're going to be stretched to grow and push beyond our comfort zone. And because mine is in like Pisces, I don't really have a lot of water signs in my chart. So water signs are Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. And so I felt like this placement was very challenging. And oftentimes the North Node can be a bit challenging. And what it told me was like in this lifetime, I'm meant to let go of control, be less particular about like things need to be this way. This is the plan that I have. We're sticking with the plan. Because like I'm the type of person, I'm sure you also resonate with this. Like if it's a plan, like I'm doing it. It may not make any more sense, but I'm doing it. And my boyfriend's just like, you're literally driving yourself insane. Like, why? You've imposed all these things on yourself. Like, you're causing your own misery. I'm like, but this is the plan. He's like, you can let go of the plan. And so that's a big lesson for me in this lifetime, and to be more intuition led and to really trust. Like, it may not make sense, but if your intuition is saying this, and it told me to start my business, it told me to create this like website with its own tech stack. And I was just like, but I'm not a tech person. I need to find, it was just like a lot of things. But it was like, if you make this website, it is going to open so many more doors to people understanding your work. And it has done that by like tenfold. But it was like really scary for me. I was like, I don't know how to do this. It's investment, it's time. And also, I don't know if people are going to want this. And from a traditional entrepreneurial, like journey, you don't create an automation, you don't create a product until you see that there is a product market fit, that you have done all the research. But my intuition was like, do the website first. And I was like, all right. But it really worked out. And that was specifically a message for myself. And so initially years ago, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago, when I came across like my North Node in Pisces, it seemed so wild, so alien. I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be more flowy, more creative. I'm supposed to be more intuitive, maybe like be more spiritual. I'm like, I really wasn't like that person. And here we are.
That is wild.
Here we are
That
today.
is so crazy. I love it. When you talk about listening to your intuition and going with the gut feeling, what are ways in your life that you practice that? Like, do you wake up and meditate? Do you meditate at all? What is it that you do to get more in tune with the invisible voice that you have?
Yeah, I meditate. I don't always get to meditate as often as I would like, but I do that. And I think one of the best ways for you to tune into your intuition is to start each day and end each day on your own terms. That's without your phone. That's doing something for yourself. It's journaling. It's creating a ritual, whether it's like a bath, like you're reading, like you're lighting a candle, or just like tidying up your home. I love doing that. I know you do too.
I love that so much. It's like, I will not go to sleep without that. No, yeah, that's for sure going to happen. But I actually, I love, such a simple thought, but sometimes the simplest of thoughts and the simplest of advice are the strongest. The starting and ending your day on your own terms is like, damn, like I know I try, no, I don't try. I do not get on my phone when I wake up. Like I am reading my book, I'm drinking my coffee in peace. I'm listening to Abraham Hicks, like whatever I have to do. Yes, obsessed with her. And the times when I slip up and I do get on my phone, it's insane. The energy, like my brain feels foggy. It's crazy.
It's terrible. You literally just like shock your system, and you're just like, why did I have a bad day? Oh, well, maybe because you woke up and looked at your phone, prioritizing others, and others people's like point of views and like prioritization of like look at the news, like what's happening in the world. And at the end of the day, yes, all those things really affect us, but the only thing that you can control is like how you feel and how you meet those challenges.
True. Do you have any favorite books that you've read that are profound or deeply spiritual that you suggest to people?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember the right like title, but the Joe Dispenza book, like I think it's Becoming or Being Supernatural. I really liked that one. Um, I'm like I have all these like books like listed out like in my notes, and I'm
Yeah.
just like trying to think. I'm like, oh, like what are the books? I'm like The Alchemist, that one I really enjoyed as well.
That's a good one.
That was a really good one. I'm reading this book right now that isn't spiritual, but I think it's like really profound and I think everybody should read. Actually, I'll say two of them. One is Super Communicators. It's about how we communicate and the different ways we communicate. And then the other one was The Psychology of Money. Yes, because these two and all those other spiritual books, they talk about what it means to be human. It talks about
Right.
like a psychology of like why we are the way we are, why do we connect and why do we disconnect. And I think astrology is one of those complementary tools to really help us understand like what are we supposed to be doing in this lifetime, who are we, and how can we better be better people and better partners and better, community members and sisters and like mothers, whatever you like, kind of like the list of roles that you have. And astrology just makes things feel like a lot less personal because like when I'm doing like a reading, you know you feel really less attacked than if you went to a
Yes.
therapy session for the first time,
Yes.
example, and the
That
therapist
is
is
so
like
true.
this and this. You're just like, I'm not like that. And I'm like, well, these are certain things, you may have experienced like at work or in your personal life. Like codependency is one with for Libras. When you have Libra showing up in your chart, you can be very codependent. You can really be giving too much to other people. If a therapist told you that, you'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to go back to this therapist. Like, if you hadn't understood these concepts. But if an astrologer tells you, you're just like, oh, wow, like, this must be like divine. This must be a message I
Yeah.
like need to hear. You see, it's like the way we deliver messages are very, very important.
So true. That's so good. I recently read The 5 a.m. Club. Have you read that book?
I haven't, but I can guess. Is it saying like we should wake up at 5 a.m.?
So this is the craziest thing because I went to Barnes and Noble, which I just love going into Barnes and Noble. It's just like such a vibe. And I'm like, I'm just gonna pick books that I feel like picking on. They might not make any sense. And so I picked the
Mm.
5 a.m. Club, and I'm like, I don't really need this masculine book telling me to wake up at 5 and telling me why it's important to wake up at 5. I don't really need that, but I feel like I should buy this. And even the cover like does not do it justice. You don't really know what you're getting into. But the book is it's a story. It's a novel, and it
Oh,
is so spiritual. It is
what?
so deep, and it's so good. I'm reading it and I'm like, I couldn't wait to wake up and read this book. Robin Sharma, I believe, is the
Hmm.
author's name. And it had like I was expecting to open it and it was gonna have bullet points and frameworks of like why you should be waking up and how to go to bed earlier and all this stuff. But it is just I don't know. I felt like I needed to tell you about this book because it's really good. So you should check
Oh,
it out.
thank you. What is like the biggest
Yeah.
takeaway that you had from this book?
Honestly, you can say this about anything, I believe. I was a college basketball player, so a lot of what I had to
Hmm.
learn was discipline and pushing through and showing up, basically being half of the battle. And so this book is telling a story about how when you wake up at 5 a.m. and everything we just talked about, Alice, like where you set this time to really dedicate it to yourself, and you do deep work during this time where you're meditating, where you're connecting with source, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. And all of these things kind of fall in place during this first hour of the day. Your life just unlocks to a new level. And it's like, it sounds, I don't even know how to describe it, but the story in which it's being told, it's like, it starts out and they're in this big conference room, and there's a guy on stage and he's talking. He reminds me of like an Abraham Hicks, like he's talking like
Hmm.
she would. And he like passes out on stage, and then they see this homeless guy, come from the back of the conference room, and there's this very successful female entrepreneur sitting next to a very successful male artist. And they're like so annoyed of this homeless guy. And he won't stop lingering around them. But this homeless guy is basically Source. And so this entire story centers around the artist and the entrepreneur meeting this guy who is Source, and he's actually a billionaire. And they didn't know that, but they find that out throughout the book. So I don't want to give too much away, but it's like,
Oh, okay.
this this guy became a billionaire by sharing the 5 a.m. club method. So it's very similar. It's like the vessel to which he was able to become a billionaire on the surface, the materialistic things, the vessel for him was getting up at 5 a.m. Like the vessel for my clients finding out who they truly are is showing up online and posting content that feels raw. The vessel for you is discovering who they really are in all angles through astrology. So it's like just a vessel that he's speaking to throughout the book, but it's so good.
I mean, that's the message I need to hear because I have been fighting with my adult self, particularly more over the last few years, to like be like wake up early because I love waking up early, but it's like but I need I'm a sleeper. I sleep a lot. And so, maybe this is going to be the push that I need so that I can start wake up at 5 a.m. because you can get a lot done. And I think then you have enough time to do all the things you want to do. You do your spiritual practice, time for yourself. Then you can like work out. Then you can, then you have, it's like that you have so much more time.
Oh yeah. And it's just a matter of like the art of waking up at 5 a.m. itself, whether you do it right or not. That's part of the book. Is like there's no wrong way to do this, but just knowing that you've woken up at 5 a.m. for however many days in a row, like you feel like you can run through brick walls. Imagine what you accomplish when you're like, I was just consistent at waking up at 5 a.m. Not a normal human is. That's above average. Like, that's not like a normal wake up time. So anyway, just really cool book. If you're listening to this, you should probably get it. I've been mentioning this book since I finished reading it for so long. Like I should be an affiliate of some sort, but that's a good one.
But thank you. Thank you for mentioning it because I feel like this was a message that I really needed to receive. So thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, of course. That's what we do. Well, Alice, I'm going to conclude this, but I want to ask you one question that I ask all participants before they jump. So my question is, because I'm a content coach, that is my pride and joy, is my passion. I'm curious, I watched you on social media. You're a beast. You're killing it. You're very entertaining, very good at what you do. What is the best content advice that you've received that you've implemented and it's done big things for you?
Wow. It's just showing up. And I think that's a big tenet of like what you tell your clients too. Just like show up, be consistent because it's just getting into the motions of things, posting every day or whatever cadence that you have, like it makes a difference. It really greases the wheels and then it becomes like a business ritual that you have for yourself. Just showing up and eventually like you will find the right content to share. And sometimes content's good, content's bad, but it reaches the right people in terms of like, let's say good and bad in terms of like views, right? But I always try to refocus and think, okay, this is a message somebody needs to receive. And whether it's 10 people or 10,000 people, it's going to find the right people and the right people are going to come to me and book my services. That's it.
Amazing. That's very good. Thanks for sharing that. Where can all the people find you? Where can we sign up with you? Do you have like one-on-ones? Do you have group programs? What does that look like?
Yeah, so people can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Woo Woo Company, WOOWOO. I do written reports. I do one-on-one readings. And I actually just launched a membership, which is like really easy for people to join. Yeah. And then, get your monthly forecast. We do some like workshops, but yeah, those are all the ways that people can connect with me and find my work. Oh, and then obviously, of course, getting their free career astrology report from yoursaturn.com. That's like should be the first step.
Yoursaturn.com. Yes. Everybody do it. I will drop that link in the show notes as well because this was so much fun. Thank you so much, Alice. I appreciate you, your energy. I love what you're doing. You're making a difference out there and you're really cool. So thank you for being here. And I am really excited to just continue watching your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yay. Bye.